How do you do? The Box Office Pulp Board feels it would be a little unkind to present this podcast without just a word of friendly warning. We're about to unfold a cinematic commentary track, made by a group of men who sought to create a podcast after their own ravings, without reckoning upon God. It is one of the strangest tales ever told. It deals with three great mysteries of the internet: analysis, observation, and deconstruction. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel you'd not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now's your chance to, well, we've warned you. Now, to pause and refresh. For your convenience, we have an attractive refreshment stand in the lobby, with buttered popcorn, golden good and hot from the popper, your favorite candies, wholesome and rich, plus delicious Dr. Pepper, so bright and bracing with a tang and tingle unmatched by any other beverage. Enjoy an ice-cold Dr. Pepper at our beverage stand right now, and then return to fully appreciate this bop and a movie commentary track. Enjoy.
Fucking insurance companies.
I was editing the podcast the other day. I was re-listening to that part and it still was killing me. Peter,
Bring me a glass of water and some blood. Peter. My mouth's all gummy, Peter.
God, I forgot about that.
Snap me off.
A piece of that Slim Jim?
A piece of that Kit Kat bar, Cody. Use your head.
I'm dying here. I'm dying.
God, Peter misunderstands. Instead of jerking a dying Uncle Ben off, he just slides a Slim Jim around the inside of his mouth.
Just like he wanted. With great
just
power comes great flavor.
Tobey Maguire crying. Just
Peter.
Slim Jim
Step into a Slim Jim, Uncle Ben.
And then he becomes the Slim Jim man from that commercial.
He once again has to fight Macho Man Randy Savage.
And what's that guy coming back? Eat me.
Randy Savage? I don't think Randy Savage coming back.
No, the Slim Jim man who killed him.
Oh.
We all know he caused that car accident, like the fucking Reverse Flash.
Trying to get his job back.
Is this like the Who Shot Mr. Burns thing? Like we need to have a whole investigation into who killed the Slim Jim man?
We don't know what The Miz was doing at that time. That's all I'm saying.
A wrestler is back to being the spokesperson, but I do miss the Slim Jim man.
Slim Jim has a spokesperson right now?
It's weird. They hire spokespeople, but it's only for like things brought to you by Slim Jim. So it's not like they do regular ass commercials anymore.
What wasn't there like a
people
5
who
second?
go on posters?
Wasn't there 5 seconds where CM Punk was going to be the new spokesperson
Yes.
for a whole ad campaign because they were going to bring back Snap into a Slim Jim and all that?
Yes. Slim Jim wanted them. WWE told them they could have like, how about instead the Miz or somebody like that? Just somebody completely different. He didn't find out till years later that Slim Jim wanted them to be the spokesperson.
So I typed in Slim Jim mascot into Google, and you know how Google normally will give you like a quick write-up of something to so you don't have to bother clicking links. This is what they say. Actor Dmitry Goristas portrayed the Slim Jim guy, apparently that's his official name, in the original commercials. Macho Man Randy Savage is a way better Slim Jim mascot, and that is an undisputable fact. That's what Google spits out if you ask it who is the Slim Jim mascot.
But
a little
I
bit.
agree.
You go to the citation and it just says God.
This is weird. Oh, okay. So they're pulling it from the most popular Slim Jim link, the Gemmalore fandom wiki.
Huh.
I love the internet so much.
This is very odd, but okay.
I feel like we just discovered a fetish.
Maybe. There's a... I'm sorry, I started reading the general information of the Slim Jim guy. Position, 90s food commercial star. Arch nemesis of Demon Lord Zerazox. Age, unknown. Possibly over 2,000 years old if Demon Lord Zerazox is to be believed. Status, dead. No explanation, just dead.
I'm glad the recorder's on for this.
There's like an in the ring thing and like a weird, poorly animated GIF of a demon slamming the Slim Jim guy into hell. What the hell did I stumble onto?
Did we miss a commercial?
I'm gonna send this over in the group chat just so you guys have it. But like, what the fuck?
Okay, stop the commentary series. Can we just record an episode on Slim Jim lore?
There's apparently plenty of it out there.
References, and there's a link to, oh my god, an entire playlist of nothing but Slim Jim Man commercials.
The Slim Jim guy made his Jerma Wrestling Federation debut by entering the third Jerma Rumble. Upon his arrival, Demon Lord Xerxox, who was helping commentate, became enraged. What? Apparently the two had a feud that lasted over 2,000 years. A minute or so later, Xerxox's anger overflowed and he rushed the ring, where he killed the Slim Jim guy by chokeslamming him through the ring into a fiery portal to hell, along with the Mime, Candyman, and Count Chocula.
Well, wait a second. Is this YouTuber lore?
What the fuck am I reading? What is this?
I don't understand any of this.
I don't know. Yeah, I've stepped too far into some sort of weird niche of the internet. I gotta get out. All right. I don't know if any of that's usable for an opening to our Saw 6 commentary, so let's do a cold open.
No, Mike's not cutting out a word. This is golden.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I don't even know if I was saying half those names right.
I'm going to click out of that now.
Good. This is all Saw all the time now, baby.
Okay.
Welcome to Box Office Pulp, your one-stop podcast for movies, madness, moxie, and tonight, Saw. I ran out of ways to say, like, hey, more Saw, woo!
You did kind of give up there, yeah.
3 movies ago, so this is part 6, hey! We're back for another bop in a movie covering Saw 6, which I would say was originally maligned, but is now sort of maligned. I'm going to say the same thing again. is now sort of enjoyed. People come around on Saw 6. Not me, but I've seen other people on the internet saying 6 is one of the better entries of the franchise. I don't know if I buy into that.
It's considered at least underrated.
Sure, I could see that approach. Anyways, I'm your host, Cody. Joining me today for this bop in a movie are my co-hosts, Mike. Say hello, Mike.
You know, it's hard to view Jigsaw as a bad guy going forward when you see him look at a John McCain rally and scoff.
Fair point. I thought you were going to say something because he knew he's an animal lover because he just has a deep appreciation of piranhas.
Piranha.
Bunny or bust.
And say hello to my other co-host, Jamie. Say hello, Jamie.
So, this movie's rewatch led to my favorite thing that's happened this commentary series. I keep my notes while watching a movie in my Facebook Messenger tab. And at a certain point, I switched over to my girlfriend's tab instead. So from their perspective, in the middle of their workday, I just started clowning on Hoffman out of nowhere with absolutely no context. And because they know me, they didn't think anything was out of the ordinary and just started asking me questions.
Very normal for Jamie to just start riffing on Hoffman.
It's like, I know, right? Like, what was the deal with that thing? It's like... Oh, wait, I'm having a conversation with my girlfriend suddenly. What the fuck?
What's the deal with the box? All right. Well, folks, we gotta... I'm gonna be honest, folks. I am not in the mood for this Malort drink at all, but let's do it. We're forcing our way through things here. And when I was making this, I was at the bottom of the barrel for cocktail ideas with Malort. But then it hit me. With the way Saw 6 is kind of being reappraised by some fans, I should do something similar and make a version of a cocktail that kind of had a big fad moment. In this case, the Aperol Spritz. I don't know if everyone remembers last summer when all of a sudden that's what everyone wanted to drink, even though, honestly, I think the Aperol Spritz is garbage. So here we go. We're going to be making a Malort Spritz. This is pretty easy to make. You only need 3 ingredients. You need 3 ounces of Jeppson's Malort. You need 3 ounces of dry Prosecco. And you need 1 ounce of club soda. That's all there is. To make this monstrosity, you're going to get a wine glass filled up with ice, pour in your 2 shots of Malort, then you're going to pour in your Prosecco right after that, and then top the drink with club soda. And if you'd like to make this kind of appear fancy, I don't recommend, you can add a slice of citrus, like a real drink. Typically you'd use an orange, but it seems like grapefruit and Malort are kind of a common combo, so you could just get a peel of that. And with that, let's see how this tastes.
Believe in you, Cody.
I just sent a picture of this in the group chat so you can admire the thing I'm about to drink. It kind of looks like piss.
Ah, it does.
No. Oh, boy.
Oh, God,
good.
Cody,
The worst
that's
one
inside
yet.
you now?
Oh, no. That's very bad. It's bubbly malort.
Oh, those are
I hate
piss
it.
bubbles, Cody. You made piss bubbles.
This tastes like pretty much you expect urinal ice to taste like.
You made piss. You made piss this episode.
This is piss. Not even piss with ink. This is just piss. I thought the champagne might save it, but I can't even taste the Prosecco.
This is worse than when you made the stuff.
I like
How
MB
did
just
you do worse than the stuff, Cody?
MB just reacted with a sad face. He doesn't even know the name of the drink. It's just a picture. He just saw a picture in the chat and he went, nope. I didn't say it was Malort. I just sent a picture of this and he went, nope.
You just full sassy onto you on that.
I could hear him all the way.
Cody.
Like Indiana, I could just hear it all the way, hundreds of miles away through the air.
You
hate
ruined
this.
someone's night and he's not even here.
I ruined my night. There's 3 ounces of Malort. That's 2 shots of fucking garbage in fucking piss water.
I need to start tagging Malort into all these posts.
Oh, can we get sponsored?
Yeah.
So I can lose control of my liver?
They're gonna fucking send us bottles of Malort as like thank yous. Then we'll have to drink them on the episodes.
Yeah.
Happy it would make me. I'm not even a drinker, and it would make me so happy to have shitty alcohol gifted
I would
to
paint
us.
my house in it. That way I can survive the bomb like the Simpsons because of the lead paint.
I should say
Kinnison booze.
Oh god, it looks like liquefied Kinnison. I should say, I believe in Chicago right now, Malort has a partnership with one bar where they sell like themed holiday versions of Malort. So you can buy bottles, I believe, of peppermint Malort right now to celebrate Christmas, but you can only get it in person, which thank God, because I'm not going to make like a 3-hour drive just to buy that poison. Okay, I'm gonna try one more sip of this because I just got like a little baby sip last time. My body went, "You don't want this, not for you." And I gotta power through this thing in an hour and a half, so I gotta condition myself.
Oh, it'll be better this time.
Yeah. I feel like if you pour this on like a pile of semen, you'd somehow create life.
I hate this. I
is it better
legitimately
this
hate
time?
this. No, I just drank it faster.
Oh.
No, that means it was better. I think that means it was better. Cody likes it.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. All right, folks. Movie time. We got movie time.
Yeah, 13 minutes into this.
You can cut out 3 minutes of Slim Jim conversation. We can really move this along.
It's
we'll
gold.
do no such
gold,
thing.
Jared.
What the audience demands, Slim Jims.
My cat just came in. Say hello to Baphomet, everybody. She just came in at the perfect time.
Perfect.
Like Cody's drinking piss.
You made a cat pun, Mike. Admit it.
I did not. Dare you?
You did.
Okay, so we are watching, of course, the unrated, considered director's cut of Saw 6, which is, by and large, from the director and writers, is considered the preferred version. I do not know if the producers would agree, considering I think some things were done against their wishes that they were maybe not aware of for the director's cut, but, we'll get into it. I will say 3, I will count to 3, then, after I say 3, we will press play. Are we ready?
Yeah.
You'll be okay, Cody.
I just wanted to work in to say, too, folks, in case you get tired of listening to us, make sure to stick through the end, because there's an actual deleted, clip at the end. There's an extra scene, like a Marvel movie, at the end of this version. A thing I forgot about, and I'm making notes on this movie.
Amanda gets revenge from beyond the grave in an after-credit scene in a Saw movie.
It's not really revenge, she just kind of tattles to a terrified child who doesn't know what's going on.
It would be important if it came up again, but we'll get up. We'll get there eventually in about an hour and a half, minutes and 39 seconds. Yes. All right. 1, 2, 3.
Mike, if I paid you enough money, would you do that countdown like you're the Tootsie Roll owl who's trying to figure out how many licks to the center of the lollipop?
A 1, a 2.
That owl's
and I
a
just
fucking
take out a gun and shoot
sociopath.
you in the chest. Jesus Christ!
All right, let's get through these movie facts here. This entry is once again directed by Kevin Greutert. I actually looked up how to pronounce his name after 6 of these movies, and I've been doing a terrible job at it.
That's how you pronounce it?
Greutert. Yeah.
I was doing it so much fancier than that.
I was doing a real dumb job, and I apologize. He's probably sitting somewhere like, these dipshits.
Also,
Anyways.
OG titles are back.
Yay! So Kevin was primary editor on the first 5 Saw films. He's directed 2 Saw sequels, Saw 3D and Saw 10, besides this movie, and was the executive producer of Spiral from the Book of Saw. So real Saw head, this guy. He's also the editor of a bunch of pretty great genre films, including The Strangers, The Collection, and Cobweb. So you're probably familiar with his work, even if you aren't a Saw person.
Yeah, I would say he's essentially the David Yates of Saw at this point. He's the guy who just does the house style.
Yeah. And I saw, and this was interesting, I'm really curious what his input was, but he is listed as a creative consultant on Barbarian and His House. So I really want to know what he suggested on those films, like what he got the credit for. I don't know yet. If anyone else knows, shoot us a message.
Editing problems?
Who knows? Yeah. This was written by Patrick Melton and Marcus Dunstan. They were the writing duo. They've done a couple of the Saw films now. So they're old hat. Our cast includes Tobin Bell returning as Jigsaw from the grave, Costas Mandylore as Detective Hoffman, Mark Rolston as Agent Erickson, Betsy Russell as Jill, and Peter Outerbridge as William. I want to get more into him in a second, but we should probably talk about this opening trap because the movie is moving pretty quick. I do not like this trap.
Nope, neither do I.
To start things on a downer, I just find this is one of those, it's too silly of an idea for a Saw trap. Like, they have these automated head presses that are not wired in anything. They're just, I guess, like totally remote controlled.
This is full on a trap from Saw 5.
And it's not even the most visually cool thing, because in the end, like, the drills just kind of pop into your temple.
Yeah, so it's all about the cutting off of body parts. I mean, it's like kind of cool in concept, the idea of like you have to cut off body parts and weigh it down, but it just, I don't know. We're also fully in like, another island trap opening that doesn't really matter.
Right. We're in James Bond territory now.
Plus, the whole victim selection seems predicated on one size difference joke. Like, hey, it's funny because the fat guy has fat. He can cut that off. And the skinny girl has to, like, cut an arm off because she's skinny. And it's not really that good of a joke.
It's a little unfair. I mean, he has kind of a home field advantage here.
Right, yeah, if you're trying to shed body, I feel like the guy who is, like, twice the weight of the other person has an advantage. So, yeah, I apologize. Not my favorite Saw trap in any capacity.
Forget about it 5 minutes after it's over.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on from here.
I would say it just does drive me absolutely fucking crazy that we waste so much time with her trying to cut halfway down the arm as if the stub would be preferable.
Yeah. I do like that Jigsaw was kind enough to leave out various implements, like here's a hatchet, here's a knife, here's a nice little flame blade. Like, I'm going to give you choices. The important thing about this scene, though, it stars Tanendra Howard, who is the winner of season 1 of a VH1 reality show called Scream Queens, where the prize was a starring role in the movie Saw. So this was her reward for winning a reality game show where she had to out-scream queen a bunch of contestants. Which is a pretty cool prize, but I also feel like, isn't that a weird thing to do? Like, you won a show and your prize is, this was technically just a big audition, and we got a bunch of free content out of you.
Yeah, but you get exposure.
Yeah. And I guess, like, if you're winning a contest, dying in an opening Saw trap is a really good prize.
I would happily die in an opening Saw trap, even a bad Saw movie.
I just love that there was a reality show where the final prize was you get to share the screen with Hoffman. The honor.
Yeah. You get to yell at Hoffman, though, so...
Yeah, she gets to chew him out. And that is nice. They could have just easily made her a part of the opening trap and then moved on. They could have done it a lot of shitty ways, like when Marvel says, hey, we're gonna, the winner gets drawn to a comic book, and they're like in a background panel, it's just a person.
Yeah.
But this is like,
nice stuff.
Yeah, she's like an actual character in the Saw mythos. So, that's cool. She could make like a career just out of going to horror conventions if she wanted to, just from one role.
She shows back up in like 7 and stuff, so,
You can't say she does not bring it for this scene.
I still love the writers and director finding out that this was a thing after they filmed the entire season. Shawnee Smith told them and had to reassure everybody. No. An actress won.
Yeah, God. At this point, there's several videos on YouTube you can find covering that season of Scream Queens. That was one of the wildest reality shows from that era, not in a good way. Like, it is very, like, to a surreal degree. It's James Gunn, Shawnee Smith, and an acting coach. And a room full of actresses, like, with doing all of these activities that have jack shit to do with acting. Like, at one point, they're forced to, like, eat grapes and bananas erotically, and then they're yelled at for eating them too erotically, because we're in that era of reality television.
James Gunn, wasn't he like one of the guest judges? Yeah. So he'd be like the one yelling at you for...
season. He's pretty much the star.
Weird.
It's so fucking bizarre. It's full wild. Mutton chops, just got divorced James Gunn, so not him at his best.
Yeah. All right, more movie facts. That was a little segue there. Sorry, folks, but boy, is it interesting to me. So yeah, back to our cast. The rest of it, Peter Outerbridge as William. He is a Canadian actor who's been active since the early 90s. He has some really fun credits under his belt. He was in Cool Runnings, Land of the Dead, Lucky Number 11, which I like. Don't judge me.
Hey, there are Slevin heads out there.
He was playing a character called Dombrowski, which I love. Haunter, which a lot of people have forgotten about that film, but it's pretty good. And Silent Hill Revelation, which I'm not going to defend. And a lot of television roles. One of the more interesting ones, though, he got to play Black Mask in the 2021 Batwoman series.
Hey, that's
so just think about that every time you see this guy pop up on screen. Our cinematography is by David A. Armstrong. He was the DP of the first 6 Saw movies. This was the last entry he actually helmed, though, so appreciate him while you got him, folks. Our music is by Charlie Clouser again. This is edited by Andrew Coots. So we have a change of the guard when it comes to editing, because Kevin had done the previous entries. So Coots has a handful of film editing credits for films like The Day, Saw 3D, Bloodsucking Bastards, another kind of underappreciated vampire comedy I think people should check out. But he's primarily known for his television work. He was the editor on Sleepy Hollow, Iron Fist, Star Trek Picard, the last season of American Gods, Star Trek Discovery, and Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So he's kind of the go-to guy for new Star Trek. And this blows my mind because I didn't know it existed. He was the editor on a failed pilot for a new Tales from the Dark Side series written by Joe Hill.
What?
There's a pilot out there. Yeah, there's a pilot out there somewhere Joe Hill wrote that he was the editor on. I would love to check that out at some point if I can dig it up. I don't know if it ever got put online.
Oh, God, share that if you find it. I would love to see that.
Right? That sounds cool as hell. Anyways, this entry was released on October 23rd, 2009, considering their yearly release cycle. The budget was $11 million, and this is rough. The worldwide box office was just under $70 million, 69.8 worldwide. I had to double check that number because it sounded like it was just the domestic total. The previous film, which was, a big downgrade from Saw 3's peak of box office, made $118 million. So the fact that the next entry dropped down to 70 is significant. The movie opened in second place behind, drumroll, Paranormal Activity, which was in its second week of release. Paranormal Activity was playing in 60% of the screens Saw 6 was on, and still managed to gross 67% more money than Saw 6 in its second week. It was a beatdown. And from this point on... Sorry, did I cut you off, James?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, to put it in gaming terms, this was like when PlayerUnknown got crushed by Fortnite out of the clear blue sky. Like, oh, this is just where we're going now. Okay, change of plans.
Yeah, and I mean, from this point on, it used to be October was Saw. You knew it was going to happen. It was going to take over Halloween weekend. and this was the death knell. Paranormal Activity was the new thing, and you could expect to see Paranormal Activities taking over October for the next few years. It was amazing how fast that changed, though, because even with the last movie, they were making pretty good money, and it seemed like Saw was, maybe struggling a little bit because it didn't overtake, I forget what it was. There was like a high school dance movie, but whatever, that's counter programming. This was like, oh, it's over. It can't even beat another horror movie. This is done. And I would say, too, the first Paranormal Activity is kind of similar to this first Saw in that they're really low-budget films that absolutely exploded. The budget for Paranormal Activity 1 was around $200,000, and it made $194 million. Just bonkers how much money that movie made.
It's wild to think that Blumhouse grew out of the corpse of the Saw franchise. It's very appropriate.
Yep. And they basically, had the same release strategy as Saw. They went, oh, let's just make one of these every single year. So Paranormal Activity 2 would hit 1 year later, October 22nd, 2010. And the third entry would be October 21st, 2011. So they realized what Saw was doing and basically just ate their lunch. But
except the big difference is you can actually sustain Paranormal Activity yearly.
No.
Well, for you can from a filming standpoint, not when you creatively go bust almost immediately.
Those first 3 years were great, though. That was a hell of an experience watching that story unfold backwards.
Sorry for the mic booms.
How dare you? You're fired.
Also, I really do like this part. Really showing the difference of Hoffman and like Jigsaw or even Amanda, having him listen to the tapes of everyone dying and kind of like really like reliving it, very classic like serial killer thing. Like, and it's interesting to see that and go back to the flashbacks of 5 in which Jigsaw is making him watch and Hoffman's actually having a hard time with it. You can really see like the monster that Jigsaw created.
That's just funny because they show him like setting up, the frame, but we also see that Hoffman is fairly bad at all of this stuff somehow. Like somehow he doesn't realize they're going to be able to tell that like these are dead fingerprints. He seems surprised that Erickson's on the scene, even though he's heavily involved in these things now because his lead agent is now the lead suspect. Like, even the like removing of the Jigsaw piece, we'll find out later, is done poorly. He used the wrong knife. So it just cracks me up that Hoffman somehow goes about this thing and he's very smug about it, but somehow does it all wrong. Like he just doesn't pay attention to the details.
Oh god, this is one of the reasons where I'm sad that Strom died so early, is I would watch 8 movies of the world's dumbest serial killer and the world's dumbest detective playing mouse and mouse with each other.
I mean, we get a continuation of here. This is something that could be really good drama, right? The reveal that Perez was secretly kept alive for this moment. But what do they do with it? They surprise Hoffman, but it's not like in a gotcha or like we know what you're up to kind of way. They've just fallen for his ruse. So like, oh, it's safe to bring her back into the mix now.
It's also a weirdly directed part where they walk in and Perez turns around and then it does a close-up.
Yeah.
Perez is here as if they forgot that she died.
Yeah. On paper, it seems like a great chess piece, though. Like, oh, Perez is still alive, and then you have the theories people have had in regards to the after credit scene of this and trying to make it actually come back and actually be important, but it's all just I remember the House of Jigsaw forms back in the day of like, oh, and then the little girl told Perez this, so Perez is suspicious of Hoffman, which I guess you can kind of squint, but it's
if you want it there, if you want it to be there, it's there, but they weren't thinking any of that shit.
Yeah, I mean, that would also make
producers hated that after credit scene. So
yeah, it would also make Erickson the dumbest like police officer in the world, or FBI agent, whatever the fuck he counts as. Like, if she has concerns that this guy is framing their other agent, who they've been working with
and holding it to herself,
years,
apparently.
Yeah, and she either doesn't tell Erickson, or Erickson goes, let's just bring Hoffman in on this and let him know you're alive. Like, why? It drives me nuts, because it seems, like you said, on paper, such a cool idea. You can work that into a lot of cool ways to make drama, and they shoot their load immediately. Hoffman doesn't even seem like he cares that much. Just kind of like, oh well.
Hoffman's entire character is being stoic.
Yeah.
I mean, he gets some good villain parts in this movie, actually. But
I will say, this is the most I've liked Hoffman. I do feel like, at this point, if only for being around for so many films, he's finally earned his supervillain treatment.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Plus, Costas Mandylore really liked the role. Like, I feel bad because he's so enthusiastic about making the Saw films.
Yeah.
And he's getting into all this, and I feel like the role kind of lets him down.
Well, what fun there is to be had in this movie is in seeing Mandylore go, like, lean fully into pure evil Jigsaw Hoffman, and watching everything crash down around him.
So here we have a scene where we finally get a victim basically looking at Jigsaw being like, why the fuck did you think this was going to work? I'm just mad I lost a piece of my body. How am I supposed to be better? It starts weird, though, because she does kind of talk at the start of that scene about, like, how change is there. Like, she feels different, or this was, like, making her realize what she did in the past was wrong. But then Hoffman, like, fumbles the scene and just gets her to be pissed off that she had to cut an arm off. So,
but she seems to be thrilled with.
Yeah. Also, the worst bedside manner you will ever see from a police officer. Like, did you learn anything from losing that arm? This isn't a weird line of questioning at all. I probably should ask something about the murder situation you were put in, but no.
To be fair, is that any worse than, is it true that you are, in fact, a drug addict?
The mystery box.
Oh, hey, this thing that should have just been in the opening of this movie.
So, Mike, how did you feel about the reveal of the contents of the box? Back in the day, like when you first saw this film.
Back in the day?
Yeah. Because I remember there was a lot of talk on the forums from people just trying to guess all the clues. Yeah. Like, what does Jill have? What does she know? What did John give her? What is she going to do? And we find out through this movie, she's basically told, like, hey, if Hoffman's fucking around, just kill him. Like, put him in this elaborate trap instead of shooting him.
At the time, like, as, like, the reveal from, like, in parts, as it's kind of done in this movie, when the envelopes come out, like, ooh, intriguing. Which I'll take intriguing. And then after that, disappointment. It wasn't, it was, to be fair, a lot of that was our own fault. It was a lot of stuff building up, but Jill just being the one to finish the game Jigsaw is playing with Hoffman post-death. Like, now I appreciate it as part of Jill's overall arc. If you kind of, like, go and watch Jill's parts in, like, chronological order, it all kind of, like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense and kind of lines up. But as far as, like, it felt like there needed to be a little bit more to that reveal, and it's something a little bit more personal, too. Like, I think everybody just kind of had something a little bit more built up. Yeah. And it was hard not to be, like, kind of just, Well,
we talked about how fast these movies come out, but in terms of fan theorizing, that's a whole year for people to sit around and guess what's coming next, which is forever. It gives you so much time to build up theories in your mind and then cement them as, if this doesn't happen, whatever does will be bad. So Saw always had that against them, because they were going against the collective imagination of the fans, and it's going to be hard to top that no matter what you do.
Yeah, we as fans were shooting ourselves
to do that in the first place.
Yeah. But also, don't give her a box and then have it be like a perverse bear trap.
Yeah. It's like the redesigned bear trap, which apparently works worse than the original bear trap.
But he just don't like it because in the movie. You can't even leave that a fucking cliffhanger. That angers me so much.
Yeah, I hate it because what's the point of putting him in the trap unless he has an ability to escape it? And it feels like he cheats to get out, to show, that Hoffman's unstoppable, really. He's like a Terminator. He can get out of anything. Really, it feels like she was told she should just murder the guy, and instead of saying, like, here, just shoot him, or go to the police and, like, tell him everything. Here's an elaborate trap that he has a chance of getting out of. But he doesn't actually get a choice. He doesn't have, like, if you pull this key out of your stomach, you can live.
Well, no, he doesn't get a choice, but what I do like about that, and it's the difference between the theatrical and this cut. In the theatrical cut, Jill activates the trap herself and walks out of the room, game over. While what the writers wanted and fought the producers on and were not able to film this way, and they were able to restore using editing for the most part in this cut, it all comes down to William's game and the choice to let William live or die. To me, like, the brilliance of that is it puts Hoffman's fate into the hands of somebody else choosing life or death. Which for Hoffman, it's just about, like, killing. So Hoffman in that moment would want the kid to not kill William, which goes against his own methodology. Yeah. And that I actually really do like.
But we don't really get Hoffman interacting with the victims in a way for him to suggest they shouldn't seek murder as revenge.
Well, yeah, that's my point. Is Hoffman wants them to always seek murder. He wants everyone to just die and be punished. So in that moment, it's turned around on him, and he would want William to be forgiven instead.
Mm-hmm. But it just seems like he's so kind of hands off on these series of saw traps. I don't make that connection necessarily.
Well, yeah, I think like I said, it's stuff that had to be, like, recreated in editing since they weren't able to film it that way. But it's really just, you have to think about, like, Hoffman's overall MO, like the Hoffman who's sitting there listening to people suffering and makes traps unwinnable against Jigsaw's wishes and things like that.
Like most Saw sequel endings, you have to just headcanon your own ending based on commentaries.
All right, here we have one of the, I would say, weaker Jigsaw flashbacks. It is interesting because we get to see John actively yell at Jill. Yeah. We know, like, he loves this character more than anything else in the world. And here he's being shitty to her and her aspirations. It's also very funny to me that Jigsaw just has no ability to understand the subtleties of drug addiction. Like, it's people that are addicted should be put in traps, and that'll make them go cold turkey. And it's,
once again, Jigsaw is a bad guy.
Yeah, it's like, come on, Jigsaw, get your act together here.
Well, I would say there's a softening of Jigsaw. O'Reilly Jigsaw.
Yeah, there's a softening of Jigsaw over the years. There's some entries where he is very much the bad guy, and it makes sense for him to have stupid opinions. And then other entries where they're kind of treating him as like, oh, he's more of a wise sage than you give him credit for.
Well, even this is kind of 50-50.
Yeah.
This feels very, even though as far as, like, that trap stuff and John's overall point with this, like, zoo game, it's great. It's one of my favorites of the entire series, honestly. But it comes closest to, it's a little bit anti-hero Jigsaw, but they still try to, in flashbacks, try to pepper in more of, like, the villain stuff. But, we're kind of firmly in anti-hero Jigsaw territory, and you kind of have to go that way because Hoffman has to be the exact opposite.
Yeah. Although in the world of Saw, pretty much everyone's kind of a bad guy anyways, so you could just make them all bad.
Pretty much. But this one I do think, got a little bit more back to the victims not being cartoon character bad people, and really do feel a little bit more multifaceted. Like, there is, for as, like, cold and calculating as William is, he does also have like a self-awareness, and he's not really, he doesn't feel like an actual bad person, but he does very bad things.
Nobody's a pedophile in this time around.
I mean, we get him to soften up as the movie goes along and round his character out, which is part of the tragedy at the end when he passes away. Spoilers. But the start of the movie, we do have a scene where he calls his wife and tells her, like, I know it's your birthday, baby. I'm not coming for dinner. Like, just the most cartoonish, like, kick the dog. We have to establish this guy as a dick kind of moment. I mean, it's Saw 6, so I shouldn't be expecting subtlety really at all. So it's not an issue. It just feels very overdone.
So I do love this very 80s horror movie sequence we were just privy to. Right down to the convenient newscast about the Jigsaw murders. Also, the dude playing William screams Friday the 13th dad to me. Like, he should absolutely be telling his daughter that she needs to keep her hands to herself at Camp Crystal Lake while he's out on his expensive business trip.
I could see that. Now, I want to talk about the visual setup of this trap, because it kind of eschews the Saw standard. We're used to a lot of Saw traps focusing on how grimy the environment is. You know, a lot of stuff where it's like an abandoned tunnel, or it's a grimy bathroom, or some sort of industrial setting. There's that going on here, but they've chosen to light it in such a way where you just kind of have the traps floating, almost like it's in a void.
Yeah.
Which visually, it's a fun way to mix things up and really highlight your characters. I'm a little torn on it, though, because on one side, oh, that's kind of cool. It's different. The other side is, but doesn't that just make it look cheap? Like when you can't actually see any of the backgrounds. It's a stylistic choice, so I pass on this one and I don't judge it too much. But I feel like if every trap in the movie was designed like this, I would get tired of it very quickly.
I like how
this is very stark for an opening trap.
Yeah, it has almost a dreamlike quality to it, which, again, after so many movies of the same type of environments, kind of aping what they did in Saw 2, I do really like the starkness of it.
It's both dark and doesn't rely on, screaming and loudness. It's actually about silence.
Which we definitely do not get enough of in this franchise. Which I think is one of the reasons I ended up being fairly soft on this one. I would still say it's one of the lesser sequels, but it has a lot more flair to it, I'd say, than Saw 5.
Yeah. It's more Saw movie than Saw 5. Saw 5, I still only really like the cat and mouse stuff. But this is a little bit more well-rounded, where I'm far more invested in the game aspect that feels classic Saw.
Oh, it's a trade-off. It's definitely a trade-off. Like, the cop stuff in Saw 5 is good. The games are bad. This has good games, kind of terrible cop stuff.
It's not really terrible cop stuff. It's dull.
Yeah,
it's like everything is happening.
Its own crime. I'd rather have it be actually terrible than dull.
It's another episode of Saw, the TV show.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of things I think would work better as a TV show, especially in this one. And even that, these feel like, even though they are tied together, and they, as I said, like the original intention was they'd be very heavily tied together. It still all feels very divorced from each other. And the cop stuff, I enjoy still a lot of the cat and mouse aspect of it, and it has some like great scenes. Like, I really like the scene where Hoffman is found out and goes scorched earth. Like, that stuff's really good.
That's lovely.
I love that scene. Every aspect of that is great. But it feels like a lot of its execution of producer story notes is what it feels like.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Go A, B, C. It like has fine acting in it and everything else. I think Mandylore does a great job with some stuff. He's able to convey a lot through just like pensive looks, which is impressive. But it's like producers want these story things to happen, to execute.
Before we get too far away from it, I do want to say this is definitely one of my favorite traps of the series for one reason. It is impossible for an audience to watch this and not play along at home.
Yes.
And any movie
so
that can make you do that gets a fucking gold star, in my opinion.
It was making me think, wouldn't this be great if this were directed by William Castle? Because there'd be like a breathometer up on the screen, just encouraging the audience, like, hold, and like a timer counting down so you knew how much longer you had to make it. It would slow down as it got to the end.
The two dreams of any entertainer are to make an audience hold their breath or collectively flex their buttholes.
I don't know. This is still more elaborate than I care for, but I imagine the big challenge for this movie is, even though it's not the last Saw film, they're trying to write these traps up like they're John's last will and testament. This is supposed to be his last big shebang. So all the traps here really need to be something big. It's what his work's leading up to. I wouldn't want that task as a writer, like coming in 6 movies into an entry and then try and be like, okay, this has to be the definitive set of traps. Yeah, tough. I don't know if they really nailed it on each one of these. They tried. There's a lot of effort in this one, so I give them credit for that instead of just like taking a lazy way out.
Yeah, and I love the zoo setting for it all, though. The human zoo thing that's kind of going on. Plus, abandoned zoos. Film more abandoned zoos, people.
I think that should just be a setting for more Scooby-Doo episodes. The Ghost Tiger.
More Batman movies set at abandoned zoos.
I'm really surprised that's not an ongoing thing besides, like, Batman Returns. Anyways, to go back to your point earlier about sprinkles of pure villain Jigsaw, I would say the selection of the janitor for this first trap definitely goes into that. The guy whose biggest crime in life isn't even not appreciating life, it's just, this guy smokes. Which ties into, I suppose, his tirade about addiction earlier. Like, anyone should be able to stop.
Yeah, I do like that the janitor gets a villain close-up in the Saw victim roll call in the office.
But I've always been a little bothered by the traps. If you want to really set up a non-flawed idea that this guy is legitimately trying to change people, you almost have to actually give a person a chance to survive their trap. I guess that's kind of been a flaw since the first movie, because I don't think Adam really had a fair shot of getting out of his trap.
No, I mean, Amanda had to kill somebody.
Yeah. And I always thought that was kind of hinky, but, again, John's a hypocrite.
He's a serial killer.
Yeah. As much as he denies it, yeah. That's more of a difference of opinion. Like, if I was doing a Saw, I would lean more into the anti-hero bit of it and go with the legacy thing they keep promoting in these films. Like, remember there's that one poster where they're just building, like, a weird John, like, statue of Liberty?
Yeah, it's a John statue. God, they taught shit for that.
Yeah. Like, that was kind of the angle they were pushing, but I don't think they ever quite wrote it that way where it made sense to me. And this is kind of the, like, nitpicky reason why in my mind. I don't like the traps where one person has to die for the other person to survive. I like it more when it's like, you might have to hurt yourself, but you could save the other person. Which, like, Saw 3 really works for me, where it's, the one guy going through the gauntlet, and he has the choice to try and save all these people, and when he fails, it's mostly to bum him out. It still sucks that the person in the trap can't get out, but it seems more of a learning lesson here. Like, we always knew the cigarette smoker was going to die.
Do you think there's some wiggle room there that maybe certain things about these traps, which ostensibly would have been set up by Hoffman, may have been more rigged than John would have originally intended?
I mean, that would make sense, right? There's got to be a reason why Jigsaw doesn't want Hoffman to live after this movie if he keeps fucking around. So that should be part of the mythos. On the other hand, it gets weird from a technical standpoint.
As I say, we have established with Amanda, he will allow unwinnable traps to be made on his watch.
Yeah. But I would say, like, it's tough from a technical standpoint because they have all these recordings of John, like, narrating exactly what's happening in the trap. So if Hoffman fucked with it too much, which I would love as a scene. Like, Jigsaw is describing a trap that's completely different from the one that people are actually in because he died, like, 4 weeks ago.
We have established that Hoffman can make his voice just sound like the Jigsaw voice.
He's got one of those scream voice
in a way
things.
that's reverse engineerable.
Yep. Now, I will say that scene works out later on where they're translating his voice and there's the tension because he knows it's coming. It's hammy, but it works for drama, so I forgive it. So I'm totally fine with the idea that they have a magic voice translator that can be undone by forensics. Also, here, as long as we're talking movie logic and being an annoying pedant, I work in the auto insurance industry. So this one is interesting to me because obviously we don't make choices that determine if people live or die. I think that's a common criticism everyone has with healthcare. Like, the insurance industry for healthcare is not good. But here's a little background on how insurance works for automobiles, which I assume is pretty similar to how it works for healthcare. When we collect your money, what we're taking is essentially the down payment on a short-term loan. Like, we're taking your cash and then reinvesting it into, like, the stock markets, bonds, all that kind of stuff. And we're really hoping that the return of interest is high enough that by the time you have an accident, because we're assuming each person is going to get an accident eventually, we have made more money than you paid us. And so by the time we pay you back, we get a little bit of extra change on top of that. So from my perspective, someone's in the industry or a side of the industry, we're not consciously trying to screw people out of claims. It's more like, oh God, we got to get this money back real fast. And you got to stop crashing into things. Stop fucking around here. We don't want to keep paying you. So the big
It's
thing
almost like
with
the industry is set up to fail.
It's bad right now, right? Because of like the increase in wildfires or just storm damage, all the things that are going on with climate right now. It's really hard to insure places like Florida because we don't make money. And then they kind of just shrug and go, fine, we're just not going to insure Florida, which makes the industry pretty useless if you're just going to back out of entire states.
Well, the idea of the entire state of Florida not having insurance.
I mean, I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but the premiums there have really skyrocketed, especially if you're anywhere, you know, like near the water. Like, those places just get all sorts of flooding and storm damage, and insurance companies are just kind of abandoning those guys. Now, I will say there are shitty insurance groups that will try and go out of their way to void your claim however they can. So it's not out of the realm of possibility you'd have guys like William out there who have their own hitmen group that specifically try and go through all of your paperwork to find technicalities to fuck you over. I want to say that's all state, if I'm picking an insurance industry to pick on. But a lot of them are not that bad. And honestly, my dealings with insurance, I have different insurance than the one I work for, to be honest. They have helped me so many times. Like, one guy had a hit and run on me a couple years ago, and they did more than the cops did. The cops said they were going to file a report and just didn't because they were busy. So the insurance industry tracked down the car that hit me, filed the claims, took it to a judge, went through arbitration. They did all that work for me just to settle the money on this. Cops did jack shit. And none of it cost me anything. I paid $100 out of pocket for like a down payment on something. So I don't necessarily love the idea of portraying insurance as the ultimate evil, but I get why people go that route, especially when it comes to healthcare.
Healthcare is pretty fucked.
Healthcare is pretty fucked, I would say. But again, I don't work in that industry, so I don't know the subtleties of it. I just know the feeling of, hey, cool, so you're not going to cover my claims for anything if I like try to go in for like a therapist. Cool, okay.
I think a general statement that's impossible to argue with at this point is just nothing is made to work in concert with any other thing. Well, nothing works. Nothing that exists
works. Here's what I'm trying to drive at, though. The movie is making, pretty obvious claims, healthcare bad. Everyone agrees with that. So it's not really saying anything daring or interesting in my mind. Because we already agree, like, healthcare should be better we're making profit off of people suffering. But there's something you could drive into that's more interesting there. They could go full Marxist. They could just be like, hey man, this whole system is set up because capitalism is really fucking everything up. I want a fucking just based Jigsaw who's out there just preaching Marxist theory, is what I'm getting at. I want like a really in-depth, like it doesn't make sense. There's no horror at all. It's just him trying to explain like, well, we're in late stage capitalism, so you understand why insurance industries are playing the game this way, right?
Hello, comrades.
As always, things are more complicated and not black and white or even necessarily gray. Just, and some insurances are better than others. It really comes down to unrelated to the insurance company. Not to say that many of them are shark-like. And, of course, there are problems like the mental health issues with insurance is fucking batshit insane. And I run into it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, it's putting the ire, like, how about instead we look at why don't we have, like, just universal health care?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do we use insurance companies? It's a little funny hearing the producers kind of pat themselves on the back a little bit in their commentary on how Saw is ripped from the headlines, and they're always trying to keep track of what's happened in the 12 months since the last Saw movie. And
it does feel like they're trying to stay topical with the movies, which is a little eye-roll worthy in my mind.
It's weird. This is a politically charged Saw movie, technically.
Yeah. This was definitely a hot-button issue. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's better than not trying to have some sort of theme to latch onto or motivation for your characters. But it feels very shallow. And there are ways where it could be driven deeper. I don't think it would fit in still pretty well.
Also, just a minor nitpick about the ending, because this is reminding me. Do you feel that using family in the singular is cheating for a reveal like that? Like, since Jigsaw's doing that, I feel like Jigsaw is using that wordplay for the audience's benefit.
I can kind of see it, but I also think that works for the twist pretty well to make it like a good Saw fit, so I'm not overly mad.
But it's all, to me, it's like, it's not really cheating because that is just basic language.
It's a good enough sleight of hand where I don't really care about the semantic difference. Like, it's fine.
Well, you're wrong. And then I burned the recording studio down like Hoffman.
Jamie throws some smoke bombs, disappears into the night. Going back to the previous kind of argument we were having, though, it does drive me a little bonkers that Jigsaw is kind of posited as like having the same complaints as the working man, like he's an ally of the working man, because he's like, hey, I hate healthcare, and I think the doctors aren't, treating us well enough. Most of the issues he finds are stuff like, he's not sticking up for like the super wealthy or anything like, well, these taxes are unfair on yacht owners. But also, isn't John Kramer like canonically pretty wealthy?
He's the 1%. He's a wealthy engineer, an architect.
He's cosplaying poor.
Also, his thing against William is mostly revenge.
Yeah. He does mention, like, it's not even a money thing, it's just principle.
Also, Cody, I meant to bring this up during the previous scene with the two of them. Since you've seen Saw 10 and we haven't, is that alternative treatment he's talking about the treatment he's seeking in there? Like, did they work that in? Or is that just completely fucking unrelated?
When I was watching the movie, it struck me like, oh shit, is that connected? I would actually have to watch 10 again to see specifically what he calls it. I don't think so. I think he's just exploring every alternative he can at that point. I'm trying to remember the gobbledygook they say in 10, where it's some sort of like, we give you an infusion in like your spine and it produces like extra chemicals or something that, works as antibodies.
It might be
It
might be like a jumping off point because he said he was exploring alternative therapies. They like, we can latch onto that.
I mean, if I paid more attention and went back to 10 and like wrote down what they said in this movie, I wouldn't be shocked if those two were connected. As it is, my feeling is that it's more like Mike said. Like, he's just exploring every sort of alternative he can at this point. And at some point after they made this movie, they kind of probably revisited this and went, hey, wait a minute, that's an in. We could definitely use that as a Saw 2.5 or 1.5. Honestly, Saw 10 really works to give minor spoilers just because it has such a good motivation for Jigsaw to murder all of his people. Like, emotionally, the audience definitely understands it, and it's one of those where it's like, yeah, we're all on board for this. We want to see these traps play out.
Hell yeah, John Kramer.
Yeah. I would say 10 and 6 are very related because it goes into healthcare and kind of the false hopes you get from doctors, or the despair you feel when there's no treatment out there that can really help you. So these two kind of go hand in hand. I appreciate 10 a lot more than 6. Although I would say also, people talk about 10 like it's, the true successor of Saw. Saw 10 is really nothing like Saw 1. They're, I feel, very different movies, and it goes a lot further into softening Jigsaw up into making him a true anti-hero, more so than what earlier Saw films portray him as kind of just a serial killer that has some weird moral code.
I think everyone should get it out of their heads that there will ever be a successor to the first movie. Not unless, like, fucking Juan comes back and does something one day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had to leave the idea of one behind very quickly, where it's basically one location, right? Trying to play to audiences, you have a hard time doing that over and over again.
2 is the closest.
They have to escalate, which 2 definitely did. And I don't think you can retreat after that and go back to something very singular, where it's...
No. It would be reductive.
Yeah, 2 guys in a very simple trap. I guess Saw 10, there is a lot of the traps are basically in one warehouse, so all the victims can like see each other the whole time. So I guess in that sense, it's a little like 1. But to me, it does not feel like it's the same thing as Saw 1 at all.
Well, and I don't think anybody... I don't really have interest in a Jigsaw movie where Jigsaw is not really in the movie anymore. Like, yeah we got that, but like now I'm interested in Jigsaw, so I'd like to get Jigsaw a little bit more.
Yeah, well, you're going to love 10. It's the Jigsaw show.
Hey, I mean, sure, we'd all like more protagonists that could stick around to be like the other side of the Jigsaw coin, but I do at least want to see Jigsaw.
Yeah.
Also,
I think that's the big reason why 10 works so well for everyone. We finally get it instead of just being a couple of flashback scenes. Like, here's the whole thing, man. You spend the entire time with this dude. We've been teasing it forever. Here you go. And it works.
So we just passed it, but I think that entire sequence might be my favorite, or at least one of my favorite flashbacks from the entire series. It is so interesting this late in the game, seeing a scene where all of the different, disparate, weird-ass threads they set up into this point in the life of John Kramer just overlap. Where we just see a brief Marvel team-up of every flashback figure. Not to mention seeing Hoffman and Amanda as bickering Saw siblings for one scene. Which makes the existence of Hoffman worth it, just there.
Yeah,
with his Hannibal murder suit.
Like, why couldn't we have gotten a movie of that? Also, the experimental treatments in Norway. So.
That actually, that was making me think. Oh, is that actually how it works? Because the whole thing is basic plot spoilers here. Kramer is approached by someone who says, "Hey, I had a miracle cure. You got to try this guy." He tries contacting the group, and basically the doctor has been banned from the United States. I believe he's somewhere in Europe, maybe even Norway, because his treatment isn't approved by the U.S. and he's an outlaw. But it really works, and Big Pharma is putting him on the ropes. So he gets in contact with this guy's daughter who is in Mexico, and she says she's continuing on her father's work. So I don't know. This might actually be
that might actually line up then.
It might, yeah. There's like some saw aficionados right now that are like banging their head against the wall, like it is, you dummies. That's my bad because I really only made that connection when I was rewatching this movie and started taking notes, but I didn't follow that thread up.
Fun.
Yeah. Okay, I swear I'll stop talking about Saw 10 now until we get to Saw 10. Piranha. I recently learned, if you go back and watch Halloween 2018, there's a scene where Vicky the babysitter is trying to put Julian to bed. And they show his room briefly, and he's got a fish tank, and there's no fish in it. And the reason is probably what you'd expect. Turns out fish are real hard to keep alive on a movie set, so they just didn't bother to put any in there. They're like, whatever, it'll be in the background. We'll like put some algae and stuff in there, so it's like an aquarium just for plants.
It's like all the empty bird cages in Repo.
I can't believe they got actual fucking piranha.
Piranha.
Which aren't they illegal in California?
I've never tried to buy exotic fish, so I don't know what states.
You've never gone through the plot of Bruce Bigelow, Male Gigolo?
I have not, no. I'm barely living a life here. Is it illegal to own piranhas? It is illegal to own piranhas in some states, including Michigan, New Hampshire, Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, and more.
Oh, I'm screwed.
So, probably, yeah. Sorry, Mike. No.
To be fair, of all three of us, Mike is the one most likely to say, is it in season in a restaurant?
Whoa. Sorry. I got that backwards. I'm sorry. It is legal to own piranhas in some states, including Michigan, New Hampshire, Delaware, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Maryland, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Nebraska, New Jersey, North and South Dakota, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Tennessee, Vermont, West Virginia, Wyoming, and Wisconsin. The state of Ohio allows...
What?
No, if you hang somebody upside down, it looks like they're smiling.
Yeah. The state of Ohio allows piranhas for purchase, but some cities and counties have prohibited them. I'm at a place that sells these. We can and will ship to these states.
Let's do it.
I'm so mad that piranhas are illegal in Alabama. That means that somebody acted up.
So you can do cockfighting, but you can't do owning a piranha.
I'm on pretty sure I can own most big cats.
In New Jersey, based out of New Jersey. And they're selling red belly piranha for $39 a pop. You pick the size. So they have small, medium smalls, medium large, and extra small. These are all out of stock right now, so don't actually try to do this.
Medium smalls.
Yes, medium smalls. But let's see. In California, they are banned or heavily regulated, so you're probably not getting them in California. But, I mean, we don't actually know where Saw is taking place, right? Like, they're pretty vague about that. You can go by the license plates. But, I don't think it's in California, is it?
It's in state of Soda, like Moral Laurel.
Yeah, so we're in a state where you can. I'm just going to assume.
Also, before recording earlier, we were talking about the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and I had completely forgotten that we have this Freddy Krueger-ass boiler room in the middle of this movie.
They do such a good job of making this room feel unbearably hot.
I don't care how ridiculous this is. I love this trap.
This trap I'm on board for. This one works for me.
It is ultimately just pipes, too, so it's not that outlandish.
The only thing I'm a little disappointed on is he gets blasted by the steam a couple of times, and I wish they had taken the time or budget to really show, how fucking destructive that would be to you. Like, just think of the Evil Dead remake, where Mia's in the shower and you just see her face, boiling and bubbling.
Yeah,
they should be doing that kind of stuff.
They really have to sell it with acting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my only complaint. Like, this would be such a good opportunity, some really gnarly makeup effects, and they don't get to that, which is a bummer. But the set itself is crackerjack. I love this. And this is one of the more tense traps, too. I like that it's two people collaborating and having to go through this together.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And also, I'm just going to give you a segue here. This is actually, an original version of this would have been inspired by the Saw ride.
Ah.
Bunch of people in pig mask, all trying to attack William because they need a key from inside of him.
Ah. See, this seems like it would make a really good set for Halloween Horror Nights, and I wonder if they've used this in one of those over the years. Because I think they've done Saw as one of their maze themes in the past.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's honestly the most interesting thing about this era of Saw. Isn't even this movie, it's the Saw ride that came out to coincide with this over at Thorpe Park in England. And I'm fascinated by the fact that England got the Saw ride. Because if you watch video of the ride, all of the actors are super British. And then the one I watched, the security guard was like an actor from Dark Place. Like central casting, English soap opera extra. Like, oh no, everyone get down. There's a jigsaw in here.
I like the referring to a jigsaw.
It's kind of neat. It's they discontinued the queue portion where I think for its last years it was just the roller coaster. But whenever they were doing the whole thing, you would line up in a generic Saw warehouse location where you walk through barbed wire and shit, and there'd be an attendant there pretending to be an FBI agent that would guide you through, and you'd get Jigsaw tapes and stuff and then interact with the puppet. Then you'd hop on to a fairly decent mid-tier roller coaster with some swinging saws and shit.
I apologize. I just want to interrupt because I absolutely love when William opens the door and does that slow crawl over to the key and just yanks it out, and just the look of a man who is so fucking done with these traps. Then even looks in the security camera like, you motherfucker. I love that little bit. That is such a nice beat because after getting through any Saw trap, I think that would be my reaction. Just
how is this character more endearing than Jeff?
Right? It's weird. So I apologize, but I just have to bring that up because it's probably my favorite beat in the movie.
But I was just gonna say, it's a really cool combination of dark ride and traditional outdoor roller coaster. I recommend looking it up. But honestly, the most interesting thing about it is it was temporarily shut down because of an accident in another of that park's rides, the Smiler, the unrelated supervillain themed roller coaster that horribly maimed a bunch of English folk a few years back.
Oh, Jesus.
And it is a miracle that that cultural telephone game has not blended the two stories together in people's heads so that they think people got horribly injured at the Saw ride and had to be shut down.
Which would be a way better story.
Oh, yeah. Ugh. Okay, so one of the things that Costas Mandylore talked about why he was so excited for this particular Saw was he described being pulled in two directions. The character was trying to walk the line between being a disciplined disciple of Jigsaw, kind of following Jigsaw's methods and ideas, and also just wanting to go all out bad guy and just being, the big bad wolf. A phrase I keep using. I mentioned that a bunch in the last one because that's what it always reminds me of. I don't know if I quite see him feeling the pull to do John's bidding as John imagined. But his motivation, that's good for the villain. Hey, you've got two paths here. Which way are you going to go? The honorable serial killer or the all-out monster?
Yeah. I can kind of see it, mostly in a little bit in performance, just something that's kind of not quite there in text.
Mm-hmm. I can see it more in the other films than this one, to be honest.
Yeah. I do think in some of the flashbacks a little bit, but there's not as many in this film, so.
Mm-hmm. So to go back to the idea of the Saw trap for a second, what's fascinating to me about the lineage of Saw was it's really at its cultural peak now, even though it's at kind of the bottom of its box office power. Like there is that kind of lag between interest in going to actually see the Saw films and people knowing about Saw as a property. Because we had the Saw ride finally coming out in 2009. I'm sure that probably took a few years to put together. We had Scream Queens, so it's even just part of normal television now. The Scream Queens essentially serving as kind of an ad for Saw all along because that's the prize. And just the discrepancy between even 2 movies ago where Saw is making like $150 million a pop each time it comes out versus now where all of a sudden like there's Saw toys and comic books and video games and everyone's done with the property.
Yeah, this is the year of Saw, the video game. Up to it.
Yep.
Which is another thing we should probably mention. For a while, that was supposed to be canon, and people were supposed to treat like the 2 Saw games as extra installments to Saw. So if you were a big Saw head, that was like super, super cool. That was the thing you could get into and just have a new story. It's like a brand new movie just for you. All right. What are the opinions in the room about this particular trap? Because I see a lot of folks refer to this as one of their top trap. Some people say it's their favorite trap in the entire series.
I love this trap.
I love everything about the trap except for the tone of the scene. I feel like it comes across as more comedic than it needs to.
I could definitely
see a little bit.
That.
They put in a little bit too much comedy.
I think this could have been edited
some of it's
a lot
tempered,
better.
But yeah.
Again, because I'm not really on board with the movie as a whole, I start to nitpick logic, which you don't do if you're enjoying the film. Like, you can excuse a lot of shit. Because I'm not really in this film's pocket, I look at this trap, I'm like, I don't understand how they enforce the rules of the trap. Because if he puts his hand, like, in the machine to block it from firing, the gun lifts up and shoots straight in the air, right? So it's expelling a cartridge each time.
Yeah.
And couldn't he just do that for everyone? Like, have it shoot all 6 shots up in the air and have no one die?
I'm trying to think. I thought there was something built in about that.
I mean, that's the excuse,
the
right?
Machine
like
just explodes.
No, they built it so after 2 saves, it just automatically shoots everyone. But
yeah, isn't there a thing where you can only save, like, he can only stop it like a certain amount of times?
They mentioned he can only save 2 people, so it's kind of implied that it's just designed to not work after you save 2 people, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of how I took it, is you can actually only stop it twice, so you have to choose who you stop it for.
Yeah, it just seems strange because the gun like actually lifts in the air and fires to show.
Yeah, because there's only 2 buttons.
Yeah.
So
it seems like they're like, I don't know. This is one of those that
there's only 2 buttons. What do you want?
Saw fans would go in there and be like, well, I would survive a Saw trap because I'm built different.
I'd look away from the gun. I'd dip my head between my shoulder blades like a turtle.
I'm a little curious about the iconography that's going on in this movie because, to your point earlier, Mike, the zoo makes a lot of sense. It's a human zoo, and we've got these people that are acting like animals. That checks out. That's good. But this is kind of playground themed. It's
guess because they're childish, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know what they're exactly getting at. It's cool and it serves the scene well. It's good set dressing.
Well, it's because in the whatever they called the room, the pits or whatever they called the room, is they were all in a circle. So that's just what he's using the merry-go-round for. So they're tied to a circle, a spiral, you could say.
Yeah, it just feels like, I mean, that calls to mind like childhood playgrounds. And it just feels like, oh, that's not actually a symbolism for anything. They just need people in a circle.
I feel like this is something that Jigsaw would be arguing with Hoffman about, like the Joker and Harley Quinn. Oh, they're going to think it's a playground thing, you idiot.
You have to paint it like the Chinese zodiac.
But it's a circle.
But they are doing a thing.
I like
whenever...
that your Hoffman is Rocky Balboa.
I already looked
Isn't he,
in
though?
here, Jigsaw.
It's the same
Shut up,
voice.
Amanda.
Rocky just punches his way out of a trap.
I'll say, if you do want to
there
put
ain't no oxygen in here for him either.
Rocky has to punch his leg into mulch so he can get his foot out of the trap.
I gotta do what I gotta do.
I like this alternate version of Rocky 5.
Yeah, I would watch this 100%.
Yeah. But to play up that idea of maybe like a playground, they were treating it like a game about finding people who they could cancel their insurance for and giving each other awards and things like that, like Terminator of the Month and things. So
right.
I could see maybe that is actually intentional to that degree.
Like all the symbolism in Saw, you kind of have to squint.
That's where I'm at. Like, Mike,
it's never 1-to-1.
That's great if that's what they were thinking. However, that's a lot of squinting.
There's a series where the Chinese zodiac is just casually thrown out, and you got to connect the dots yourself.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of times when they want to make those kind of points, they'll do something like have a specific flashback to a thing to make sure no one in the audience is confused.
Okay, I do love the final, the guy coming up and his big fucking
you fucking look at me.
Because it is really good. Like, it does to me, like, that actor does a good job because it starts out kind of funny and then, like, goes very serious.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Well, you get the change in the music, too. It goes less from frantic to now it's kind of more pensive. But the thing I like about that specific beat is, him screaming, "You look me in the eyes when you kill me," which ties into the whole thing because the guy hides behind his math and his system. Yeah. So when he's passing proclamation, "You're going to die," it's, because of the system. It's strange because he also has moments in the movie where he says the buck stops here and he's the one who makes the call and he's the one who designed the algorithm. But he doesn't quite seem to understand that as the person behind it, it's ultimately his decision. So that ties up all very nicely, and he probably finally dawns on him, like, oh, right, I am actually killing all these people and just blaming it on math.
Yeah. And going back I to how the fate of William is tied to the fate of Hoffman, is Hoffman kind of operates not the same way because he's not hiding behind anything, but he's just like William kind of enjoys the power, the perceived power, even though he is hiding behind, he just has to do what he has to do. But he enjoys being the person who gets to make the decision. And Hoffman, that's like the same thing. The victims are supposed to make the decision, but Hoffman likes making the decision for them. So having that's how I enjoy how the game and the storyline with Hoffman are tied together in a way where it just wasn't like in the previous film or even so much in 4. Here it feels there's just like a stronger link to everything.
I just feel like they had a slam dunk layup to be like, it's the system's fault. You're saying it's the system instead of people, and people make the system. Capitalism is the system. It's the machine. Rage Against the Machine. It's right there, people. Come on. Tear down your gods.
OCP is the cops. Sorry. That's
Punk rock Jigsaw.
Punk rock Jigsaw. It's all capitalism's fault, baby.
I really like this scene from a directorial standpoint, from a writing standpoint, especially from an acting standpoint. Everything Mandylore does is really good.
Well, they've got
the way he just kind of moves around the room looking at things, and
well, they're all sort of circling each other too. Like they're giving him a lot of distance, and they're just kind of like sharks, just going around in a circle in the back. You can feel kind of his inner pressure here, where he knows things are about to turn sour. It's just the placement in the movie where like, hey, we've been close to this guy the whole time, basically feeding him all the clues so he has a chance to get up on us. Like, there are better ways to conduct a sting operation. The scene itself, though, divorced from that weird logical bubble, I do think works really well.
Yeah, like an island scene.
This scene is a glimpse into an alternate reality of what this movie could have been.
I mean, like, it goes, for once, into full slasher territory, where it's not a trap game anymore. Hoffman just straight up fucking murks all these guys. He kind of, for a scene, becomes the Terminator.
Yeah. Which is nice. It's very, like, the period in Silence of the Lambs where Hannibal finally starts killing people and moves around after being very still the entire time, and hands at sides. Now he's free moving and attacking people. It's to me, it's like, it's that kind of scene.
Mm-hmm.
Even the smartness of, like, he puts the coffee down to, like, not be holding it, like he's going to use it as a weapon, and then just so he can pick it back up as, like, a distraction.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he has to use the world's smallest, dinkiest knife to commit these murders. I was half expecting Perez to show up in, like, another movie, like, because she just got stabbed with, like, a super tiny knife in the gut. Like, she'd probably survive.
That's actually a sharpened jigsaw.
Oh, no. But yeah, my issue here is, again, we've got Perez back from the dead to give her, 2-3 scenes, really? And she doesn't really get to use them before getting killed off again.
She's here to have someone from the other movie for continuity's sake.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. They just needed a connection to the previous films, and that's a bummer.
It's one of those things that's like, but you had this and you were planning it. Like, you even, I guess they even at some point filmed something about Strom faking her death.
Yeah. Well, that was in the original script all the time, too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That she was going to survive and Strom was going to go off and kind of, like, hide her and try and protect her.
Also, I am fascinated by the Strom hand that Hoffman, I guess, keeps on him at all times in case of surprise incrimination.
It's very metal.
Like, where's the Hoffman Nika figure that comes with the hand?
Oh, they have to do that.
It's a signature.
I mean, the Ultimate Figures, they normally give them a bunch of accessories. That would make sense.
This is one of the most arch things I've seen a serial killer do.
Just keep an emergency hand? Yeah. It's not enough he squished this man and, like, tried to suffocate him. All within the same day. He also has to take his hand and frame him for murders. This guy really has it out for Strom. All right, one more frame-aroo. They definitely won't see it through like they did last time. Then we have the beat here, too, where he's pouring the gasoline over everyone. He gets to Erickson, who is still alive. And I like this because this is, like, such a conscious choice of evil. Like, he's not even going to finish this man off. Yeah, he gives a little smirk and then decides to just fucking cover him in gasoline and burn him alive. Just to make it the worst possible way to kill this dude. For the crime of doing his job.
It does feel like some kind of full transformation for Hoffman.
Yeah, this is the no further kind of line. Yeah, he's gone full Hoffman at this point. Which I guess lines up great because now we see Jill is still on the move and she's about to make her move. So we need to know that Hoffman's gone full evil for her move to be justified.
Yeah, and Jill kind of being the person who is actually, like, following Jigsaw's legacy.
Yeah.
She has a nice arc. I will forever argue that. Even if 7 happens.
Boy, 7.
That's going to be fun. Well, speaking of, this movie was almost in 3D.
Mm-hmm.
But even the producers of Saw were like, ooh, we really shouldn't rush post-conversion on that. Because could you imagine it's all of this darker?
Well, and the expense of it, too. But they were really chasing after the highs of 2009, because Avatar had come out that year and really proven, like... Well, I guess Avatar was 2009, so this would have been... This was, like, 2 months before Avatar came out? Avatar was early December.
Yeah, so 2 months before.
But the hype was still there, right? People...
we were in 3D fever at the time.
Yeah.
The 3D future of cinema.
Yeah, but My Bloody Valentine 3D, I believe, was a 2010 film. I think it came out right around this period as well. So the folks were aiming to do a lot of 3D. But I think they were smart enough to go, hey, our whole thing is making these movies really fast for not a lot of money. 3D does not conduct itself well to those goals.
Especially when you inform the director like 2 weeks before filming.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of wacky stuff. I mean, I think we mentioned Hoffman versus the Mafia, which apparently was a plot they wanted to do and told the writers to write that script. Otherwise, they're fired. I have no idea what the hell the ultimatum was there.
They wanted to do 2 more movies, and then since this movie did very poorly at the box office, they were just kind of told by Lionsgate, hey, we're not going to pick you up for 2. Let's just do 1 more, wrap it up, and call it good. Yeah. And their last-ditch effort to save the franchise, from my understanding, was that idea of throw 3D in it. Maybe that'll get people in, and then Lionsgate will change their mind. Didn't work out. Probably for the best. They needed a little bit of time to redesign what Saw should be after 7.
Yeah.
My God, could you imagine the world where these kept making money and we just got like vigilante Hoffman just taking down criminals like the Punisher every film?
Well, I do want to see whatever the hell that was going to be. Like, I do legitimately want to see Hoffman versus the Mafia.
They were going to have to move to that point eventually, because you can't have Hoffman, the evil guy, winning every single movie, because people just get so tired of that. So you have to essentially transform into a hero you want to see win in some capacity.
Or he goes to jail at the end of every movie.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're essentially making Don't Breathe 2, which people did not react well to. So, again, maybe it's for the best this wrapped up at 7. Speaking of Don't Breathe 2, did you guys ever check that one out?
I keep forgetting to.
It's not great. I would definitely just say watch Don't Breathe 1 and just call it a day.
How many times are we going to see her miscarriage? I mean, I'm good for it every time.
This is like the pearls falling in Crime Alley.
Oh no, I just realized I've got 14 minutes left and I have to drink like half of my Malort drink. I am not going to make the buzzer.
Go.
Even the ice melting hasn't improved the flavor. It hasn't even watered it down enough where I'm like, not that much Malort. This sucks.
You know, this is a pretty big retcon, but at least it's one that follows some logic. And I do like the reveal that Amanda was there.
Or that,
I still am indifferent to the retcon of the letter, but hey. Yeah.
I mean, that was part of the fun. We went over that in the second episode, reading what the letter actually said and why it would have made her emotional. And it feels very good at the time, and they just need something different to make the plot move. So you get this kind of clunky blackmail letter.
Yeah.
I remember that was another thing people argued about online for so many years. Like, what did the letter say? And then just to find out, it was like, I'm going to tattle on you unless you kill Lynn, which I guess explains her actions, but I'm perfectly fine with the motivation they already had in place.
I think it kind of
it worked fine. Is that everything after 3? This isn't even an insult to like the storyline or anything, but just feels like a what if scenario if things were a little bit different. We're in Saw of Earth 2.
Yeah. So here we go. The big twist. It was his wife the whole time. And I kind of appreciate the sleight of hand here because it's set up where you would never expect that to be the case.
Yeah, you're not like looking for it.
You know, when he says stuff like my family and it cuts to these unrelated people, you know, they're tricky about it and it gets you looking in the wrong direction. And that's got to be hard to do on Saw 6. You know, people expect twists in Saw, and how do you come up with one the whole audience isn't going to guess 2 minutes into the film? So I go back to your point, Jamie. I think it works. I don't feel like they really cheated too hard to make it happen, or cheated enough to make me feel like it's dirty. Plus, this does end up being a good ending point. It's memorable. You know, what if the family members of someone who died got to decide your fate?
Yeah.
It's a little weird this guy went through this entire trap and potentially learned a lesson just for it to not matter because it's not even truly his game. Like,
It's very vindictive.
How would the game have worked out if he had, like, died in the steam room when that woman, like, attacked him? These people was just, oh, sorry, timer ran out. You guys just go home.
He has to get to the end of his game for their game to start.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Their game, they're not in any danger. They're just being given the choice to kill this guy or apologize to him. Or not apologize, but, like, accept his apology. So I'm wondering, like, if he died halfway through, is the plan that Jigsaw would have been like, oh, sorry about that one. I made a tape in case everything went tits up. You can just go home. Sorry.
I would love to see all the unused apology tapes.
Just forget about this one. Sorry. Don't even worry about the acid. It's nothing. Don't go home.
It's like the pre-recorded tapes that play at Disney World whenever the rides break down. Just a moment. Ariel will be back for more fairy dust.
I think the frustrating part about this ending is we have a lot of flashbacks for different characters. Like the A and B plots both are being treated like they're big twists. So it's sawing out to the max right now. We're getting all these flashbacks to Jill getting a box, but then also William realizing what his trap really is.
In a movie that also like has like a montage flashback at the end, like it's the last Saw movie.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
you get a
moving
lot of flashbacks. It almost feels like they're padding for time, but the movie's not that short. I mean, altogether, it's an hour 31. You know, whatever. That's not long enough where you need to pad out with like an extra 2 minutes of flashbacks.
I do love this, like, fuck you to Hoffman thing from Beyond the Grave that's going on here. Kind of Hoffman still like thinking that he has been out of John's game for a while, but he was still playing it the whole time. It's a nice little gotcha moment.
Yeah.
That could have easily worked as the end of the series.
Yeah. I mean, we end up with a very similar situation in Saw 7. So they liked it so much, they did it twice.
I thought I don't like fucking bloody mouth, deformed Hoffman screaming. It's cut to black. Like that is a cool image. But I mean, it's a penultimate episode TV cliffhanger.
Yeah.
But
I misunderstood you for a second, Mike, and I thought you said you didn't like that. I'm like, what the fuck's wrong with you? That's like the Mike image of the movie.
There's the one thing Saw consistently gives us, it's bloody mouth people screaming.
Also this is just the coolest thing ever, and it
just
makes
being
me so
melted
happy.
by acid.
Also, in the editing, they've changed it so Jill does not set the timer off. Very, very big difference. I do not understand why the producers were so against it. God, this is gnarly.
So I really wish the kid was still 8 years old and had the same dialogue.
Yeah, the decision to age him up makes sense on paper because it'd be kind of fucked if they're like, an 8-year-old does it. I'm sure the MPAA would have been a little upset about that idea.
They put a lot of kids in danger in this series.
Yeah.
Rules.
The rules.
All right. Oh, God. And my own rules say I gotta finish this fucking Malort in 7.5 minutes.
Do it.
It's appropriate for what's happening on screen.
This is Dumbledore drinking that stupid goo in like the last Harry Potter film where he's just, no, don't make me Harry.
Death will have no claim over your soul. What a great line.
It's a cool line. That's a good line.
Oh, that's so good. That makes me so happy.
It's so slimy and gooey. The design of the Bear Trap 2.0 bothers me because it just feels so different from everything else that
it looks like Bane's
Kramer had
mask.
designed.
Oh, God, it does.
It's kind of sleek and futuristic. It's very Bane masky. And John's whole design aesthetic is not that.
Yeah, it's wireless, which is what kind of like the headsets in the opening trap are setting up.
Yeah.
idea.
I wonder if that was supposed to be like a nod that, hey, maybe there's another accomplice out there who knows how to do, like, technology
Wi-Fi.
bullshit. Yeah, I wonder if that was ever a thought that, like, this should have a very distinct, different feel because we need to hint that there's other people involved in this game still.
That's possible.
That's just a total guess.
The mask is designed as if Hoffman was meant to continue wearing it throughout the series as Jigsaw Man.
That would be so cool if Jigsaw, like,
cool,
he literally gets like a murder mask that he just wears from now on because his identity's already like given away and he can't get the mask off. Like, make him an actual, like, The Burning, like a real slasher.
That would have been awesome. Also, look at that half face, half fucking gone, screaming, cut to black. That's good. That's good stuff.
It's a cool shot. It really is. Which kind of makes up for, like, Jill's game over being not anything.
Better than
It's better than the one in the theatrical cut. I think I liked her delivery for the most part. The theatrical cut delivery is very meh.
God, to put this in perspective, I have finished all of the other Malort drinks by the halfway mark of the film. And I am fucking struggling. This is... Oh my god.
Your bottom half is about to fall. But,
I am drinking the hydrochloric acid. Oh man. As the insurance man, I am being judged for my sins.
Oh, you're going to have to fill it.
I want to say before all of our fans hate me. Before all of our fans hate me. I work in the information technology side of insurance. So I don't... That's my excuse. I swear.
It's okay.
I'm looking the other way.
40 minutes ago, Cody.
Cody polishes the gears of the machine grinding your life.
That's it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's different. I just observe the results.
George Newbern.
Yeah, I forgot Superman's in this.
That's all right, Cody.
Oh, God.
But, all in all, like, revisiting this now, I understand why a lot of people feel it's like the most underrated entry. There's a lot of enjoyable stuff about it, and I think the important thing is the game portion of it is good.
The Saw part worked, which is what the most important thing in Saw
compared to last time. Yeah,
we haven't had that since 3 at this point.
Yeah, I would say the thing that drives me nuts is, and this is just judgmental without getting to know these people close enough to know if it's really true. So take it how you will. When I see people talking about Saw 6 and how they like it, they're not mentioning specific traps or story beats they like. They're going off the general plot of Jigsaw versus healthcare. A lot of people like it for the moral stance the movie's taking about predatory healthcare.
It's very cathartic.
Well, it just bothers me because it's like, okay, you like a concept and you're giving the movie credit for taking a stance on something we all agree on. It's not actually saying, I like the movie because it's good. It's saying, I like the movie because it believes in what I believe. And I feel like a lot of people judge movies that way.
Yeah.
Which drives me up a fucking wall when someone's like, that movie believes in what I believe in. It's good. Or that movie doesn't believe in what I believe in. It's bad. And they completely dismiss the craft that goes into the making of the movie.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%.
So I will say in this
I get
case,
bitter about it when I see people like, Saw 6 is the best. And I feel like deep down, they secretly are just saying, again, a lot of times probably baseless and it's just my weird perspective. But I feel like people are doing that. They're just morally going, yeah, cool, fuck healthcare. This movie's good.
I would say in favor of that. At the very least, the shallow health. Easy, Cody, easy.
No,
Drink a piece with dignity.
It went down the wrong pipe. I got piss in the pipe. Sorry. You were saying about dignity?
I would say that at the very least, the thin healthcare stuff gives the movie a sense of identity, which the previous 2 entries didn't really have that much of.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, if you look at other slasher franchises, to differentiate some of them, you have to go, oh, that's Jason Takes Manhattan. That's the one where he takes Manhattan. Or that's the one where Jason goes to space. Like, there needs to be a clear identity in the concept for people to distinguish entries when they get this far along. And for Saw, there you go. Hey, this is the one with healthcare.
And I think it's important that this one.
I've got a minute 35. Sorry. Okay.
Well, we still got
keep talking. Keep talking.
Between like a little bit in the first one, but this one and 10, it makes sense that Jigsaw's thing is like operating in that sphere, like charlatans or insurance companies or people who demean those who are in his specific state. Where he's the only like horror baddie that thing is he's dying of cancer. So like
it's true. They don't make a lot of slashers like, what bums me out? Organ failure.
So it's cool that we get like a couple of them that do touch on the realm that he's from. Like, yeah, these are the things that directly affect Jigsaw.
Well, again, this is supposed to be his magnum opus, so it makes sense that healthcare, the thing that he's directly pissed about, is the thing he's going to go after last. So, a credit scene, like it's a Marvel movie, even though this is 2009, so it predates Iron Man really making this a cool thing to do again. Even though I don't really understand why the fuck they included this.
This was a thing, I can kind of talk about this a little bit. So this was a thing that everybody wanted, but not the producers. So that's why it's only in the director's cut, and it has no follow-up. Unfortunately, you can kind of squint and make some things, but it has no follow-up because the producers never liked it. Originally, it was using footage Bowsman had directed of the little girls singing, and they originally filmed it that way, where like Amanda joins her in singing, and Amanda's kind of crying, and through the song, she changes the lyrics to give her a hint to not trust whoever saves her. But they couldn't get clearance for the song, so she ends up just through ADR telling her not to trust the one who saves her. The purpose of it is Hoffman thinks that he defeated Amanda, but Amanda, the true heir to Jigsaw, I guess you could say, at least at the time intended, like beyond the grave, actually has done Hoffman in by putting that little hint in the girl's mind, so that would lead into Hoffman's downfall. So Hoffman's downfall would be the direct result of Amanda. They didn't go that route. Which would be
cool, yeah, if they did anything with it. If that was something they were allowed to pursue, then that's like, oh, that's a really cool, actually very Saw way of handling it. Like there's a convoluted backstory that involves a flashback to like 3 movies ago. Like, oh ho ho, wait, gotcha. There was one more twist after all. So it's a shame they didn't find a way to really incorporate that, or weren't allowed to incorporate that.
It would have been a really cool like wrap up final film to kind of like reveal that's like what Amanda has ultimately defeated Hoffman. Like that would have been a lot better than what they ended up going with.
It's kind of very like the Bela Lugosi Black Cat, that idea of maybe I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna find a way to take you with me.
Yeah.
I like the, two psycho battle of the wits kind of approach that it would have given a film. Again, I feel the real tragedy of Saw is there's 1,000 really good on paper ideas they could have done, and very few of them were executed.
And it's so frustrating because you see time and time again the creatives on the projects wanting to push in certain directions or coming up with ideas that are then shot down because they're not where the producers' heads are at. So they won't even so much as entertain exploring this alternate idea or this possibility of where the story could go, because they know exactly where it's going at this point, and that's it. And then you get things like this after credit scene, which was shot down, and now just kind of like
sits around like a weird, like it shouldn't have even been in the director's cut. I almost feel like they should drop it.
It seems to be in the director's cut out of spite.
Yeah.
I say this is all the setup for that little girl to come back in a new Saw movie, and we get payoff like 15 years later.
Technically, we still don't know if Hoffman's dead.
Yeah. They do this exactly like Kill Bill, like the planned Kill Bill 3. Like, oh, that little girl that watches her mother die in a duel against Beatrice. She comes back 20 years later for revenge. Same idea. Now, I would say, too, we probably spend more than our fair share of time talking about how the producers fucked up certain aspects of these films and paint them as the villains of the Saw series. And that's something we probably shouldn't do. It's easy to hate on the producers, right? Because they're the money men. That's the weird thing about movies, because there's that weird balance between commerce and art. Like, they're trying to make art, but it also has to make money. So, we got to make compromises. And the producers of Saw enabled all of this. Like, we would not have Saw as this franchise with all of these notes, even the first Saw, if these guys weren't willing to take huge risks on making even the first Saw. And their steady hand really made a series that guys like us are still sitting down and obsessing over 20 years later. No, that's not right. I did bad math there. First one was what, 2004?
4.
Jesus. Oh, it is almost 20 years later. That's awful.
Yep.
I hate this. Time is passing too fast.
45 years later.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. We're going to get like a Saw reboot that's like that. It's a soft sequel that ignores, 5, 6, 7. I lost the thread here, but essentially I don't want to say that the Saw producers
their hearts are always in the right
guys.
place.
They're trying to keep this thing alive, and it's moving so fast. They are juggling an impossible task. And so some of their choices don't make sense to me, but I'm sure they put a lot of thought into them and they made sense at the time. So these are humans who made mistakes that could be identified in hindsight, which you could say about anyone.
Yeah, they're not bad people because they made these mistakes. They just made some mistakes with the making of some horror movies.
Not exactly that we know of. We don't want to back ourselves in any corners later.
Yeah, in case we find out later they're all actually serial killers.
Yeah, that is true.
That's where they got their ideas from.
This is Lionsgate.
And no matter what, even if I'm mad about later Saws, it's still weird because we had a Saw 10 that came out this year that's pretty good. And then we had the first couple entries that are really good. So by and large, they have given us more good in the world of art than bad as money men. Yeah. So, take everything we say against the producers with a grain of salt. They made mistakes. That was like the one olive branch I will extend to being a decent person this month. It's December. It means I have to be nice in the spirit of Saint Nick. That's all I got. God, I might actually be dying. The Malort might have killed me 20 minutes ago, and I just realized it now.
The ghost of Cody's yet to come.
It's the case of Mr. Valdemar. I am just a fucking hypnotized corpse at this moment. Folks, thank you so much for listening through whatever sense this made. We started on a Slim Jim's joke, if Mike keeps all that in.
It's staying in.
And you still listened for 2 hours of this. So, wow, good for you. You're a real trooper. Thank you so much. If you did this and somehow you haven't listened to any of our other material, that's weird, but we got a lot more. Don't go too far back. It gets weird. But you can find more Box Office Pulp wherever you find your podcast. We're on Spotify, Google Music. I always want to say Stitcher, but I guess that's not the case anymore. iTunes, you can find us. We're around. Search Box Office Pulp. You can find us also on most major social media. We're on X for the moment until that capsizes. We're on Facebook. Go ahead and shoot us a message. We love seeing them. I'm confused because that was the most complete exit I've ever done on one of these, and I don't have a button to wrap up on. So
that was good. I also want to remind everybody listening to check out a friend of the show's also podcast, Bandcamp. That's band with 2 N's. Right now, they kind of specialize in reading banned books and kind of getting into what happened there, why exactly it happens, and also why banning books is bad. They're currently reading The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1 chapter at a time, and through that they'll kind of get into why the book was banned in the first place. Previously, they've read Fahrenheit 451, Kill a Mockingbird, things like that. But you can find that in all your favorite podcasting places. They're really good, like fun podcasts. It's kind of like us, but if we talked about banned books,
and
they're better. Yeah, they're better.
Don't steer all of our traffic away. No, stay with us. They're good. Go listen to them after. But we're nice. There's my desperate plea. Please don't leave us. All right, I think that hooked him.
Box Office Pulp recommends staying with us for the love of God.
just it now becomes like a bunch of tropes of just emotional manipulation. Like, I'll kill myself. Audience, I would never. I'll kill myself for my own reasons. You're not involved.
Damn right.
I actually love that as a sign off, but folks, this has been Box Office Pulp. Thank you so much. Get the hell out of here.
You get more out of life when you go out to a movie.
Box Office Pulp recommends telling the judge you want to stay with Daddy.
Oh.
I hated hearing that. And, like, if you add that on top of the Malort, I am having all of my senses poisoned in one night.
I'm turning the fucking recorder off.
Someone's
I'm mad
gonna
now.
send me some sort of image that blinds me. My ears are already gone. My tongue's gone. I'm going to touch something like a shirt that's got too much vinyl printed on it later tonight, just so I hate everything.
I feel like I just watched a naked clown cut off his own genitalia.
And twist it into a balloon animal.
That actually sounds kind of fun.
It'd be I'm surprised they haven't done that in one of the Killjoy movies.
Yeah. You know, that was a perfectly wholesome, traumatic child custody joke that you guys had to make something dirty. And I'm very offended by that.
Jamie's victim blaming. I want dinner to cancel Jamie right now.
I absolutely am. You were the problem, and you are making me deal with
it. You did this.
Who? Me? Jamie? Who's the who?
Everybody's getting pointed to. Accusatory.
Mike has broken the fourth wall. If you're still listening to this, you did this.
Accusations.
We're making content for you.
False accusations.
Please remember to replace the speaker on the post when you leave the theater.
This here show is brought to you by Zencastr. The all-in-one solution for podcasting that's easy is logging in and hitting record. With Zencastr, you get studio-quality sound up to 4K video right from your browser. No more worrying about unstable connections thanks to Zencastr's multi-layered backups that ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. But that's not all. Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound like a pro. It automatically removes those pesky ums and ahs and even those awkward pauses in conversation. If only it could remove those from my love life. But gone are the days of needing a bunch of different tools and services to create a podcast. Zencastr's complete platform lets you create, edit, and distribute your podcast all in one place, allowing you to easily publish to Spotify, Apple, and all other major destinations. So why wait? Start your podcasting journey with Zencastr today and experience the Zen of podcasting. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BOXOFFICEPULP, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.